Great, we're on lesson 15, which is on finding the radius or the diameter of a circle. So first thing we want to do is just recall the formulas that we've been talking about so far. So we have our circumference formula, which is c equals pi times our diameter, and our area formula, which is area equals pi r squared. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with our first example. It says find the diameter of a circle if its circumference is 16 times pi inches. So what we're going to be doing here is I'm going to underline what it's asking me to find, so finding the diameter, and I'm going to box in what it tells me, so the information it gives me. It says the circumference is 16 pi inches. So if it's telling me the circumference, that's the formula I'm going to write down, so c equals pi times d. Then I know, based on what they gave me, that the circumference is 16 pi. I need to find out what the diameter is because I don't know the diameter. And if I don't know the diameter, then I also don't know the radius. So let's go ahead and plug 16 pi in for c. So that means I'm taking 16 pi and plugging it in where c is. So I shouldn't have c equals 16 pi. I should have 16 pi equals pi times the diameter. And if you'd like to change diameter and put an x, you can, but my recommendation is just to leave it as the letter d for diameter. And you're just going to solve for your variable, so solve for d. So I'm going to divide. Remember, pi is a number, so I want to isolate d by moving that number of pi. So I'm going to move the symbol pi by dividing it on both sides. The nice thing about this is our circumference that they gave us is in terms of pi. So my pi's are just going to cancel, and I'm left with 16 all alone. So 16 is the diameter, which is what they asked us to find. So if they give you the circumference of 16 times pi, don't multiply that out because it's just going to make it more complicated for you. Okay. If I was then asked to find the radius, just as a little follow-up, remember the radius is half of the diameter, so the radius would be 8. Okay, next page. It says find the radius and the diameter of the circle if the circumference is 37.68 inches. Round your answer to the nearest tenth. I changed my mind. I'm going to highlight what it's asking me to find, just so I don't confuse my rounding. Okay, so it's giving me the circumference, so I know that circumference equals pi times diameter. So I have circumference, I have diameter, and I have radius. They tell me that the circumference is 37.68. They're asking me for both diameter and radius. I need to find the diameter first to find the radius. So let's go ahead and plug this in. So 37.68 equals pi times my diameter. Again, pi is a number, so I have to move that away from my letter d for diameter. I'm going to go ahead and divide by pi on both sides. 37.68 divided by pi, you're going to put that in your calculator. We're going to get a long decimal, 11.9939165 equals the diameter. Okay, before I round anything, I don't want to round, remember, until the end. So I'm going to first divide this by 2 to get the radius. So the radius is 5.9969582. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and round to actually get the diameter and the radius. So nearest tenth, both of these, my tenths place would be a 9, my tenths place would be the 9. So what happens is when I look to the right, 9 tells me to bump that up, so that means that my diameter is going to become 12.0, and my radius is going to be 6.0. All right, I'm going to have you go ahead and try one on your own. Okay, so it says find the diameter of a circle if its circumference is 24 pi inches. So please pause the video and try it. When you're all set, unpause and check. All right, remember it's asking us to find the diameter of the circle, and it tells us the circumference. So circumference equals 24 times pi. Circumference equals pi times diameter, and it tells us that the circumference is 24 pi. We need the diameter, and I'm just going to put r there just because that's a habit we should have. So I'm going to replace c with 24 pi and solve for my diameter. Divide both sides by pi. So 24 is the diameter. All right, that's all for that lesson. Good luck on your homework.